The 5 best performing stocks of 2023. This is all in relation to everything from football to car crashes, whether you're a dividend lover or a growth stock lover. Every one of these stocks could serve a purpose in your portfolio. And if that is a conversation you'd appreciate, damn it, hit that like button, because we're going to kick it off with numero uno here, which is the largest single stock position I've ever taken on in my entire investing career, being, of course, Taiwan Semiconductors. This stock up a whopping 31% year to date, which is kind of astounding here, and it's been pulling back after the wicked rally today, and that's primarily because they've been posting month over month revenue numbers. We finally got the January numbers, which are up 16.2% year over year. This company is continuing to post just insane growth, just proving that this technological boom isn't slowing down, even though Apple's been cutting back on their semiconductor purchases here. But take a look, because in my tax-free savings account, currently got about 21,000 US sitting in TSM, but I do have another position in my corporate account. The average buy price right around $80. I'm still holding this one long. I haven't bought any more yet, but I'm just watching this thing crush it. And they're even increasing their investment in the Arizona chip manufacturing facility that they're building out, which they pretty much tripled the investment in to $40 billion, and now they're adding another, I think, $3 billion to it, which is just nuts. So this company is continuing to post good stuff. I'm expecting this to do very well. You got the backing of Warren Buffett, et cetera, right? But let's talk about Apple in relation. Apple's up 20.73%, one of the outliers in the S&P top 10, and this one is primarily just coming from the Super Bowl game. After Pepsi stepped down for the first time in like several years, Apple's kind of taking the spotlight for the halftime show with Rihanna here. And if you haven't seen, they really pushed this halftime show. I mean, they really used it as a marketing campaign well beyond the 14 minutes that she had. If you didn't see any of the videos, copyright issues, I'll show you like some of the little bits.
Cold sweat, hard-headed believer.
Yeah, Apple, Apple Music, they really took advantage of this halftime show for the marketing. So congrats on Apple, stepping in here. And even though the revenue numbers are slowing down, the stock has still been able to excel at the beginning of 2023, which I think we got to talk about Tesla. Tesla's been a real outlier here. I mean, it's kind of staggering. The stock pretty much doubled. It's pulling back a little bit now, below 200, but up 84%. And I think a lot of the news that's been driving this is still kind of around some similar stories with car crashes, and this fascinating thing coming from Ron Barron when he was on CNBC. Just take a listen to some of this. We'll break it down because it's kind of fascinating. I'm like, if you're not even not a bull on Tesla stock, you can't help but be a bull on Tesla's business.
I want to just make a comment about two comments about, number one, how it's the safest car that's ever been built in the world. The safest car ever built in the world. And about a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, there was a man who took his wife and two children, two daughters, and drove it off a cliff 250 feet above the ground, and at 71 miles an hour. He was trying to commit suicide and murder at the same time. The car flies off the cliff and tumbles down to the bottom, and the roof on a Tesla is 30 or 40% stronger than any other roof, and the center of gravity is the middle of the car instead of the front of the car. And it rolls down to the bottom of the hill, and everyone's looking down, and then they lower people down, and they open the doors, and people just sitting there. They were fine. They were unscathed.
But unbelievable that they got out and were able to.
Yeah, that story is still really propelling some news around Tesla. It's kind of wild to consider that we still overlook the fact that Tesla's probably the safest, has been the highest rated safety vehicle on the road for, mid-sized sedan stuff. But take a listen, because he goes into grill the crap out of Toyota, which, I don't know if he should even be saying this, call him slander, but take a listen.
Number one, the safest car ever been built. And of course he tweeted about that. Number two, Toyota. The whole strategy behind Toyota was they are negative about electric cars. Right. And what he wanted to do is he said, we want to have the lowest cost of mobility in the whole world. And so as a result of that, rich people, they can plug in their cars. If you're a lot of places, there's not electricity, so you can't plug it in. So we're not into that. That was what we took away. So we walk out and I said, Michael, I don't understand any strategy that they have here. This reminds me sort of Sony in the 1970s. They're just stuck in their ways. The head of Toyota just retired yesterday or the day before, last week. He's the grandson of the founder. And he says, I'm too old for doing this. He was 65. I'm 79. So basically he says, I'm too old for doing this. The bottom line is that the head of Volkswagen gets fired. The head of Ford, Mark Field, gets fired because they had bad strategies, bad people. And Mark Field came to visit me a few years ago. You couldn't have believed the negative things he told me about Elon Musk. All wrong. And just, he had a bad strategy, not a great executive. Okay, I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, he backpedals there a little bit, but I mean, there's no doubt at this point that Tesla's going to be one of the dominating auto companies, and I kind of regret not buying it when it dipped down to this low 100. I was really hoping it was going to go under $100, and I'd have been all over it. So I kind of missed out on this one, but like I said, I really want to see the self-driving, some other things start to take off. I don't mind paying a premium in the future for it, but for the base auto business, we're still pretty valued here at $623 billion. It's so hard to wrap your head around this stock, but congrats to everyone that did pick up that dip. Now, we still got a little ways to go from the recent highs, but we'll see if this is just a short-term bear rally or this thing can actually hold up. I'm going to keep my eyeballs on this baby. But let's talk about Palantir here real quick. This is kind of one of the smaller cap, mid-cap outliers right now. It's up 32% year to date. Alex Karp, if you didn't listen to the earnings call, it was pretty intriguing to listen to because they weren't expecting like GAAP profitability until like 2024, 2025, and they kind of excelled. They posted like first positive GAAP earnings here, and they're doing really good on building out their client list with governments. They just really excelled in Europe, but take a listen. Here's a few highlights.
I spoke with CEO Alex Karp, who said Palantir is already employing artificial intelligence to help the U.S. military. And he said the interest in AI by commercial customers, especially in the U.S., was a tailwind, U.S. commercial revenue growing by 67%. He added there is growing M&A interest in Palantir and said, quote, "We built AI to train the algorithm in the context of an enterprise with technology that no one has, but everyone will need." So a lot of demand for AI. However, guidance for Palantir less than what the street is looking for both the current quarter and for the fiscal year. Now shares of Palantir actually up 11% after investors digested that report a bit. And again, CEO Alex Karp saying a lot of people are interested in perhaps acquiring Palantir. He didn't make it clear whether or not he wants to sell, but says the interest in AI is also a tailwind for their business.
I'm really surprised here that nobody's actually bought out Palantir yet. You think on the defense front, when so many governments, armies, and just massive businesses are partnering with these guys, that there wouldn't be some kind of buyout potential here. You wouldn't think Microsoft would be lined up to see the potential in that. But Palantir said it expects to report $503 million to $507 million in revenue during the first quarter. That's pretty astounding from a revenue basis for a company worth $17.52 billion. Now we got a long ways to go on Palantir before it gets back to the hype cycle that we saw obviously through 2020, 2021. But this is a stock I'd keep an eye on. I'm not personally buying it, but it's definitely an intriguing play that's out there. But let's talk about some other outliers here that I don't think are getting enough attention, and that's going to be Shopify stock. This one's a little harder to wrap your mind around because it doesn't post profitability. It's been investing heavily in logistics centers that should hopefully start paying off in the next couple of years, compete with Amazon, do overnight delivery, stuff like that, because this thing took an utter dive. I mean, still down 70% from those highs, and this wasn't a small cap company. This was the largest company in Canada when it was sitting up at these levels. And I remember my neighbor, who usually doesn't buy anything other than bank stocks, really complaining about this thing when it fell off. And I honestly love Shopify. I have another Shopify store. They're making money off me, so it's something that I'm going to be paying attention to because they're going to be posting earnings tomorrow. I'll probably do a video on it just to see, how their business model is evolving during this recessionary period, because I still feel like they should be doing better than perhaps Google, Meta. They shouldn't be seeing a real slowdown in the advertising side of it. They do have that stable business model with all the other businesses they're building around it from the subscription side of it. But nonetheless, so keep an eye out. Shopify is going to be posting. And just taking a look at the broad markets today, I should mention Meta here as well. Meta's been a huge outlier in performance at the beginning of the year, but everything is starting to flatline. This crazy bull market rally is starting to lose its steam. If earnings can actually still bring stocks down, because again, we didn't see really great earnings in the last quarter here, folks, for the last ending of 2022 through that Christmas holiday. Apple, for the first time since 2015, 2016, seeing a slowdown in iPhone sales and almost all their segments slowing down. Google, the advertising play slowing down. I'm just glad that I was able to pick up some of that amazing dip from October. TSM absolutely been crushing it here. So trying to be strategic, slow roll. We're heading into tax season, so I just finalized my taxes there. So hopefully that's going to get finished up. We'll have some, I think you can contribute 18% of your total income for a year to your RSP. So I'm looking to max that out. I'll talk about more on that in coming videos. And if that's a conversation you'd appreciate, hit that subscribe button and let me know what you think and what your favorite stocks have been in 2023.